Facebook. Hi, hello. I hope you are enjoying your Friday, or by the time you watch this, whatever day you're enjoying, I hope you're enjoying it. This is the second part of my Truth Be Told. I am Kiana Lucky, by the way. My apologies on the first one. I think I was just so overwhelmed with getting it out there that I did not introduce myself. My name is Kiana Nicole Lucky. Now, Kiana Nicole Lucky Logan. I am a wife, a mother of 7 beautiful children, 4 boys, 3 girls. So with that being said, I'm going to jump right into it. Where I left off at, I was telling you, ladies and gentlemen, about when I first met my aunt and broke down because I could finally put a face to her and see where my looks actually really came from. It was exciting for me. And then she was telling me that I had a sister my age and that my sister had friends. That brought on a lot of anxiety. I still remember it to this day, because I didn't know how they were going to take me or how I was going to take them. And I knew how can I put this? I'm not going to say I was so wise, but I already knew that my relationship with my sister was going to go left or right based on my relationships with her friends. Now, she would have taken the time out, knowing her now, she would have taken the time out to get to know me personally, but I knew coming in and being what you would call an outsider, it was detrimental that, not that they all liked me, but that I didn't come off as an enemy, if that makes sense. But I knew deep down that I was not an ass kisser, and I knew that I had many problems with females. So I knew that I also had work to do with my attitude. And I was excited to meet different girls. So I was like, hey, I'm going to do my best by being myself, and hopefully this will take off. But I have to rewind just a little bit, because I remember throwing it out there that there was a gentleman that was interested in me back when I lived in the West End. And this is also another reason why when I went to Floyd and Floyd explained to me that he knew where my dad lived, and I asked him to take me to him, I knew it was detrimental to my sanity again, because I began to deal with a gentleman who had children, and he was 10 years my senior, which would make his baby's mother almost 10 years my senior. So because of our relationship or situationship, I'm going to assume that she was very offended by it, because she would always get her sisters who was my age to fight me. And that began to get old and tiresome for me. And I knew it wasn't going to stop. As long as my relationship with this gentleman continued, I knew that I was going to have issues with this young lady and her sisters. And remember, I did not have anybody over in the West End when it was just me, or nobody that would come to bat for me when I had to be up against them. It was mostly random fights in school, or getting off the school bus, or going to my apartment at home. She would have one of her sisters waiting for me in the apartment building to fight me because I was dealing with her children's father. Now, in the beginning, I did not know I was dealing with her children's father, because he had never told me he had children. So, and then I was a child myself, so I really didn't think about it. I just remember fighting and going to my mom and having this to be broken down to me, but she didn't break down to me that this was his baby's mother. It was broken down to me by her sister that it was, that these two had children. So randomly her sister would walk up to me and be like, oh, you was talking about my nieces and them. And I'm like, I don't recall talking about your nieces. Who are your nieces? And when meanwhile, it was his baby's mother's sisters, and she was upset that we were dating. And although he did do or tried to do a little to subdue her anger, and I don't know what he was telling her, it was so long ago, but I remember I got tired of fighting her siblings based off of what he and I was doing. And I'm 14 dealing with a 24-year-old man fighting a 23, 22-year-old woman's sisters every day because they're my age, and it just got tiresome. I was over it. So that was another reason, besides being in a gauntlet, that's what I call it. Dealing with him made it worse for me to live over there. So I had to really go. It was time to go. In the midst of me leaving, I can recall an incident where because he didn't want me to go. And there was a gentleman, I came back from Homewood, my Aunt Lady Baby's house. So after that one day of me meeting her and her taking me, we went back to her house and we decided on what I was going to do about school. And she had let me know. She said, listen, Kiana, I can house you, I can feed you, I can do all of those things. And I'm not sure how I feel about you dealing with this older guy. I'm just not sure about it. I just don't know. You know, I have to see exactly how he treats you and things. So I knew deep down that I was moving in with her, regardless of how the situation was going to go between me and him. So I made it clear to him, because remember, he was standing in the stairwell when I knocked on my father's door. My father did allow him to come in and he met him. He was a little shaky about his age, but what could he possibly do about it at that time? I'm thinking my father's first instinct was to make sure that I was safe after all these years of not being there. And let me say before I go forward, I have to make it clear to everybody that's watching these segments. 1, this therapy is for me. 2, I am not bashing anyone. I am not saying that these people that are in my truth did not do the best that they could for me. I am simply getting things off of my chest, and I am sharing, and I am trying to help others heal and all of the turmoil that they may have had when they were younger. If it helps, if it's not something that you can relate to or know someone that can, then just sit back and listen. But this is not to bash my mother. This is not to bash my father. This is not to bash anyone. This is just to get things off of my chest so that I can start my healing process that has been needed for many, many years. So with that being said, he's in my father's house and my father's talking to him. He's talking to my father. Now, mind you, just like I told you, I seen my father one other time before this meeting inside of his home. So I, just like the gentleman, basically is getting to know my father. We're talking for a little bit, and it's official that I am going to move to Homewood. Well, this did not make the gentleman very happy. So I remember saying that it was something I was going to do. It wasn't going to be stopped by anyone. My mind was already made up. And I had went ahead and decided that 3 days after I got to my aunt's house, and I know you're going to be like, how did you know it was exactly 3 days? Oh my gosh, you're so much older. I know, I remember. Told you, brain of an elephant. So 3 days later, I decided that Homewood was where I wanted to be. I wanted to live with my aunt, and that I was going to go and talk to my mother and let her know that that's what I wanted to do. Now, when I did leave my mother, mind you, my aunt took me in with nothing. No food stamps, no cash assistance, no nothing, because I was still up under my mother. And my aunt didn't want to go through the whole process of deeming my mother unfit, getting guardianship, all of that. That would have took too long to get me in school. So we went down to the school, to Westinghouse, and we negotiated something to where I could go to school and start going to Westinghouse. So I decided to go home to get my things. Now, I didn't have a lot of things, so it only took me a book bag in the front of me and a book bag in the back of me. So I caught the bus over from Homewood to Greenway to go get the rest of my stuff. I might have told the gentleman that that was my plans. I'm pretty sure I did, because we were still talking. So as I'm coming up the hill from the bus stop, coming up the hill from home to go to the bus stop, mind you, I got a book bag in front of me and a book bag in back of me. I have on a Perry Ellis leather jacket, and I have on jewelry. And I get to the bus stop, and a gentleman pulls up and says, Lucky, where are you going? And I said, I'm moving to Homewood. This gentleman was very nice. And I said, I'm moving to Homewood. And he said, okay, I'll give you a ride. Out of nowhere, out of the bushes, the gentleman that I'm dating at that time jumps into the vehicle. Now, all three of us are sitting in the front seat. He instantly tells the gentleman, drive. And the gentleman drives. He takes my leather coat, rips it off of me, throws it out of the car. Now, all three of us are in the front seat. And I know psychologically I can't go ham because this gentleman's driving. But I got this gentleman on the side of me, and I don't want him to think that I'm getting aggressive and I'm fighting him, because this is actually the first time that this gentleman has ever blown up on me like this before. So I'm not expecting this. So he takes my coat. He takes my coat out of the car. He throws my coat. He takes all my jewelry off of me. He throws it all out and says, you won't be going to Homewood starting all over with nothing I bought you. So here I am again, 14, sitting in the car. And at this time, things like that still don't make me cry. So I wasn't crying. I'm just looking in disbelief like, are you really doing this? Is this what we're going to do? So I'm probably saying things like, fuck out of here, blah, 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 blah. So all the way to Homewood, we're talking. We're talking. You're not going to do this. I am going to do this. You're not going to do this. I am going to do this. So I end up out Homewood with the gentleman that's driving and the gentleman that I'm dating. And we pull up to my Aunt Lady Baby's house. And I get out. And I got my book bags and I get out the car. He gets out the car. He sits on the porch with me. He said, and the gentleman that's driving is waiting for him. Mind you. So, yeah. This shit's funny as hell. That part was fucking hilarious, because I'd have pulled off. Nigga, how you gonna jump in my motherfucking ride and whatever? But so I'm thinking, okay, we're on the porch, we're talking, and it's like, okay, well, my apologies for doing all of that. This is what he says. My apologies for doing all of that. I just couldn't see you go. I feel like if you're all the way over here and I'm all the way over there, and I'm explaining to him that I went through a lot with your baby's mother. I went through a lot with the young ladies over there. I don't want to be there anymore. And I feel like there's nothing over there for me. I need a change. So we come to the conclusion that we're going to continue dating, and that I will, because even though I went down to negotiate going to Westinghouse, I remember still having to go back to Langley, probably for like a month. So I caught the bus over to Langley every morning from Blackador to get to school. And after school, he would be there to pick me up, and he would take me back to Blackador. And I recall one time him taking me. Now, my aunt basically was like, okay, if this is who you're going to see, I don't mind you seeing him, but you will respect my rules. I have 2 rules for you. One is very important. You will come straight home from after school. And 2, you will respect me in my house. Those were the only 2 rules I basically had. And when I violated and did not come straight home from after school, and I thought I was grown because my man was grown and I thought I was grown, my aunt made me stand in the corner. She made me stand in the corner. She said, I told you to come straight home after school. I said, but I went and got my hair done. She said, I don't care. I told you to come straight home after school and you didn't. You get out of school at 2:45. You didn't come in here till 6:45. From 2:45 to 6:45 is almost 4 hours. You will stand in that corner for that time. So I cried. I cried. Right then and there, I was humbled back into the fact that I was a child. So we continued our relationship. And I end up pregnant. And I end up pregnant, and I find out at my Aunt Faye's house. Now, in the midst of that, now remember, I would say when I finally moved in with my Aunt Lady Baby, I was in my late 14s, turning 15. So I ended up pregnant by this gentleman that I was dating when I was 17. At the time, he was 27. And I remember telling him that I was pregnant, and him telling me that he did not want any more children. And I just, again, remember feeling abandoned again, because, again, I said to him, all that I went through with your baby's mother and my mother, and partly moving away so that I could be with you and not have to deal with a lot of things back there, and you're going to sit in my face and tell me you don't want any more children. And then it went into, well, you're almost legal. We can do so many things. And I just, probably out of the love for my baby, but also out of, I'll show you better than I can tell you, I had my son. I mean, I said, I'm not going to abort my baby because you don't want any more children, because you're hitting your 30s. I am in my teens, going into my 20s. Now, at the time, I didn't know how hard it was going to be to raise a baby, because I didn't think about it. I just knew at the time I was pregnant and I was going to have my baby. So we had the conversation. He rode over to Homewood and we took the pregnancy test, and it came out that I was positive, and we had the talk on the porch. And I remember him saying he didn't want any more children. And I recall asking him to drop me off at Elma Ellery. a clinic that I still use till this very day. I love my neighborhood clinic, and yeah. So I get dropped off at Elma Illery, and I don't think I talked to him again probably until my son was 4 months. And then after that, I didn't talk to him again until my son was 6. And I haven't talked to him again since. So I really don't want to go all into the relationship with he and I, because you can partly imagine me being 14 meeting him and him being 24, what we went through, and then dealing from 14 to 8 to 17 what we went through, or even what I went through. So I'm gonna leave part 2 there. And yeah, comment if you like to comment below. And just a little bit, it was very, very hard to not get in depth with you guys. And I'm going to confer with my husband on how in depth, if he minds, on how in depth I really get, because there's so much that I want to say, because it's so important for young girls to hear. I just don't want to go there and embarrass my significant other, because he's my main concern at this point. My husband's very private, and I don't want to go there and tell a lot of my business out there, even though it'll help me. I don't want to cause more therapy to be needed, if that makes sense. But I want to actually really go there with you guys, because I don't mind it at all. It's my truth, and if you judge me for my truth, then you should probably start looking at yourself. But I really love these one-on-ones that we have. I think they're awesome. I call them one-on-ones. I tried live a couple times. I don't like it, so I'll probably be recording more so than going live until I feel that it's something that I really want to do. Again, enjoy whatever day you watch this, and if you're watching this on this Friday, have a great Friday. Bye. I'll talk to you soon.